OldGuyTalks.com is all about being a better man. Join me on this kick-ass journey. Exclusive stuff for members only in the Old Guy Cave. Opt in now. All right, folks. This is Oris, the Old Guy from www.oldguytalks.com, coming at you on a Thursday night with my special guest, Stephen Moore. That's right. Hi, Stephen. Before I get to that, I'm going to tell you, if you have not already done so, opt into Old Guy Talks, www.oldguytalks.com. When you do, you're going to get my 6 rules of life, folks. And when you get them and read them and study them, you're going to wonder, how did I ever get this far in my life without them? That's right. You're going to wonder, how did I get this far in my life without them? Not only that, but you'll find out how you can help the Old Guy support the Navy SEALs Fund, which is a rapid response charity that helps Navy SEALs and their families when they are in need and can get that aid to them very quickly. So tonight, my special guest is Stephen Moore. Stephen has started several businesses. He's taken a company public. He's been in the marketing space. He's a marketing genius. And if there was a business hall of fame, Stephen would have his picture and maybe even a statue there. That's right, folks. He might even have a statue there. So Stephen, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, Oris, thank you, and you're very kind. And I have a question for you before I start. What is that cigar?
Okay. You know what? I'm glad because I was supposed to mention it. I forgot to. Marketing rule number 1. This is a Gurkha, one of my favorite cigars. It is a 15-year-old anniversary edition. And it's a 15-year-old Gurkha, and so, 10th anniversary edition. I'm not sure how the 10 and 15 work out, but it's a 15-year-old Gurkha, 10th anniversary edition. This is one of my favorite cigars to smoke. I love Gurkhas. It's smooth. It doesn't get hot, and you can smoke it all the way down to the nub. That's right, all the way down to the nub. All right. Thanks for asking.
All right.
And I also have my Glenlivet 15-year-old.
There you go.
I'm all set.
I should be sitting with you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I've got to get myself out of producer-director interviewer mode because it seems very strange for me to be on the other side of a camera. My entire life, I started off as a recording engineer when I was very young, and I had the pleasure of working with a lot of really big acts. And the people that I grew up with were all musicians, and they're all doing really well. And they live here in Phoenix, they live in Nashville, LA, just all over the place. And just everybody has excelled at their careers. I was a recording engineer. I started a business on a whim, duplicating videotapes. We were recording this thing in a studio, voiceovers. And this guy said, "Hey, I need some videotapes copied. You know who can do it?" We lied. And Richard Branson, just get the job, figure it out.
Of course.
We did that. We were in our early 20s. So I got in the videotape duplicating business, and it took off because one job led to another. The person would say, "Hey, I know this person that needs like 1,000 of these tapes for their school." Well, we can do that. Another one would be, there's a real estate guy. He needs 10,000 tapes. And it just grew exponentially. Long story short, within a 3 years time, this guy comes up to the facility that we had. It went from a little indie apartment to a big warehouse. And this guy comes up and goes, "Hi, I'm from Vaughn Duplicating. We're a public company. I'd like to talk to you about your duplicating business." I'm like, "Well, come on in." Because we were running 6 days a week, about 20 hours a day right at that point in time to keep up with our duplicating load. Yeah, in my 20s. It was fantastic. Got to remember, in my 20s, that was in the 80s, the early 80s. Okay, so around there.
I wasn't doing anything nearly that ambitious.
But so here was the bottom line. He said, "All right, we got three options here. Number one, we'd like to buy your business." I'm a little shell shocked, when I heard it. And he goes, "Number 2 is we'll buy it, and if you want to stay on to manage it, we would consider that. And the third option is we'll build a facility over in Tempe and we'll put you out of business." And I'm like, "Well, let's talk." I said, "But I have a fourth option." I said, "Yeah, I would like to sell the business." Because at that time I was getting into video and some direct marketing, some other things. And so I was doing the night gig, and then I was doing the day gig, running the business, and had people there operating, duplicating the tapes and all this. We had At one point, we had up to about 500 machines. We could do about 500 tapes at a time, which back then, no high-speed duplicators. It was really cool. So I said, well, the fourth option is, yeah, I want to sell it, and I want 3 years royalty on it. And so we negotiated for about a couple of hours right around there. He came back the next day with contracts. We went over it all. So I sold the business, had a 3-year residual out of it. After the 4th year after I sold it, the bottom dropped out of the duplicating business. I was in the right time doing the right thing. It couldn't be better. So I got out of the video duplicating business. And again, somebody said, hey, I need somebody to produce a show on blackjack, and we're going to air it on TV, and we're going to sell a course called Winning at Blackjack. Bobby Singer, Winning at Blackjack. Again, I lied. I'm like, yeah, we can take care of that for you. Again, get the work. Figure out how to do it. If you're confident, if you know that you ask the right questions, you talk to the right people, you can get it done. That's how I got into the infomercial space. The first infomercial that I worked on was Winning at Blackjack with Bobby Singer. It was an hour-long infomercial. It did phenomenally well. From that, I went into real estate, which then bridged me into other connections. I met up with my future partner, friend for life, up until the day he died, Michael Levy. And we, along with Steve Weber, we formed a company called Positive Response Television. That company was responsible for a show back in the mid-'80s through the '90s called Amazing Discoveries. We were an infomercial company. Mike was the sweater guy, glasses goofy. We would sell car wax. We'd sell kitchen products. You name the products, we were selling it. That company grew into a public company. We did a public IPO. We were a NASDAQ. Then it was then bought. We were wholly owned by a New York Stock Exchange company, National Media, which the person that was president of that company at the time, that was Kevin Harrington, who started Shark Tank at the time. So while I did not work directly with Kevin, we were associates in the same company, same partnership, same space, all that type of thing. That's the world that I come from. Since 1985, the infomercial world. I was in the public, from 1985 up until 1998. The company, our broadcasting, our media control, our programming eventually grew to 60 countries, 12 languages.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was totally amazing. It was a whirlwind, and it seemed like it lasted only 2 years. I mean, that's how fast it went by. But at the time that we started, we had to build the fulfillment centers. We started our own inbound centers, but then we outsourced that. But we did all of our own outbound. We did our product research. We did our own production. We built all these departments from the ground floor up, and then there were systems put in place, and they were managed and they were operated, which is the only real true way to get to wealth, is to work yourself out of every position in your business that exists. Become an owner, become a true entrepreneur at that point, become a leader. So public arena, and then sort of decompress for about a year, and then crazy idea, I want to be back in the infomercial space again. So in 1999, met up with a friend that I'd known for a very long time. We started a company called Direct Effects. We did infomercials in the United States primarily, but it was in the intellectual property arena. In other words, how do you start a business on eBay? We did an infomercial on that with Dave Espino, and it lasted for almost 10 years, a long run for an infomercial. And we did a lot of other intellectual property, whether it was tax lien, real estate, all kinds of other things. So primarily my life from 1985 up to 2010 was all about marketing. It was about direct marketing. It was all about numbers. It was all about math, and it was all about financials. The sexy thing about being in business, and people don't think of it this way, are the numbers. If you're not good with numbers, chances are, if you don't hire an expert or oversee somebody that can really look at the numbers, you're not really going to do very well in business at that point. So, and especially in direct marketing in the infomercial space that we were in, because the most expensive part of our business was buying media. Mm-hmm. Media, television is the most expensive form of advertising there is, but it also produces the greatest lead value. When you sell a product on television, the after sales that take place afterwards are the highest value of anything that exists. Right, so that is my background. In 2010, we all know what happened in 2008, 2009, 2010. There was a lot of Federal Trade Commission re-regulation. We had the downturn of the economy. It affected our industry late, but when it hit, it was like somebody took a switch and shut off the industry. People I had known for over 20 years, out. Media companies, that I know for over 20 years out. A lot, and that happened to a lot of, not just our industry, but across the board with industries. So I got out of the business at that time. And then I just did consulting. I did, mainly worked with startups. I actually worked in some audio video forensics with a friend for a little while. But really it was getting other businesses off the ground. And while it was exciting, it wasn't the same. And I didn't enjoy it that much. And I was over at a friend's house. His name is John Burley. He's a real estate guru. And he actually lives in the Phoenix area. Yeah, John.
Actually, I've listened to John's tapes. Yeah.
Yeah. And John is a premier expert when it comes to real estate. If anybody out there wants to look him up, John Burley, just go to johnburley.com. But I did an infomercial with, our company, Direct Effects. We did an infomercial with John in 2002, 2003, and we did really well. We had a good run with it, and we'd always stayed friends since then. So I was talking to him, and he's like, I really think you should get into business coaching. Why don't you contact Action Coach? Because at the time, back in the early 2002, I had met with Brad Sugars, the founder of Action Coach. The global office was in Vegas. It still is to this day. Because they were thinking about getting into the infomercial space. There wasn't a good fit. We spent a week together, and we determined, hey, this isn't for this business. But made a good friend, learned a lot in the process, and that's what life is all about, making connections, learning from everything that you do. So lo and behold, I got into business coaching. And the route that I chose, I really took about 9 months to a year of research and talking to people and just really looking at different systems, and I landed with Action Coach. Action Coach is a global coaching firm, and we're now in 73 countries, and it's really interesting because Action Coach is in Vietnam now, and it's just like booming big time when you think about it. But the reason that I chose Action Coach was because it was started in 1993. And since that time, you have all this trial and error systems, knowledge base, and it's grown into a global franchise. So you have, over 1,500 firms. I can't even tell you how many coaches there are. Tens of thousands of businesses are being coached with Action Coach systems.
Wow.
And that's why I chose Action Coach. And so really, is it, all my experience from all my life past? Yeah, that comes into play. It comes into play. But where it really gets sexy, where it really gets cool is that, oh yeah, I've experienced that. Yeah, I've experienced that. Now I have systems and I have processes that I can look at somebody, I can look at their business, ask questions, go through it, and see what we need to do to get to where they need to be. So you know what? That was kind of a really long-winded answer to how I got here, but that's really how I got here. In the meantime, a lot of things happened in my life. A lot of people passed away. I became a commercial pilot late in life. Just did all kinds of things because it was always about, here's what I liked about the infomercial industry. We built a machine, right? A marketing machine that we could plug products into.
Right.
That's all the infomercial business is. You build this machine. If you don't have this machine built and you start plugging products in it, you're going to fail. But we concentrated on the machine, and then we had the knowledge and the trial and error to figure out what products that would fit into the machine that would sell, that people would want to buy, and more importantly, what would fit in after them that they would want to buy after that. Sure. So that's why business coaching really comes into a good fit for me, because it's all about infomercials. We had to take a product, learn everything there is about it, and then how can we sell it? How can we make it so people want to buy this? And you're talking big numbers when you're talking television. They're not skinny budgets. So it was a very good experience.
That your breadth of experience, especially in marketing, is truly amazing, because the infomercial space was a very, very big part of a lot of people's success and what they've done in the past. So Stephen, I'd like to talk a little bit about for old guys like me and others listening, or not so old guys. Yeah. I think you're quite a bit younger than I am, actually.
I'm 58 as of this year. I got 59 coming up in a few months.
I just got my Medicare card a few weeks ago. So I'm officially 65, and that was actually the Medicare office. The Medicare office has is a lot like going to Walmart. They have armed security guards, and as I was going in there, there was actually somebody being escorted out by a guard. So it was a very interesting experience, and not one that I want to repeat. So let's talk about this whole process of reinventing yourself. And what are the steps? Because you obviously have done different things, so in many ways you've reinvented yourself. But what are the steps in reinventing yourself? And also, is there a difference in terms of just reinventing yourself in your current profession versus going into something completely new?
Yeah. Well, again, from a coaching standpoint, it's the thing that people are afraid to do are to talk to other people and to ask questions. Whether it's a mentor, whether it's a coach, a life coach, a business coach, whatever it is. So the first thing you have to determine, what is the lifestyle that you require? Okay, what is it that you need? What do you need in life? And it's not just thinking about it, but you got to document it. There have to be questions that are asked, and that's best done a lot of times by either a friend or somebody that's trained as a coach to start going through what I would call an alignment process. It's like, Oris, where does your life need to be? What do you require? How many homes do you need? Do you need a home? Do you need a condo? What do you need to drive? Where do you need to travel? What do you need to do with your spouse? What do you need to do with your family? You got to go through all of these things. And some people are like, I don't want to do that. I want to do that. But until you figure out where you need to be in life, it's a little difficult to figure out what you got to do to get there. Okay. So
sure.
the main thing is, number one, figuring out where you need to be. Where am I going? What do I want to achieve? What do I need to pay for what I want to do? And then you've got to make a plan. And people are always like, a plan, that sounds scary, but it's really not. It's like, say, now you mentioned like staying in the same career, but reinventing yourself in the same career. Okay. Yeah. Well, that brings us to possibly, could there have been stagnation that's taken place, complacency because of some success, or how do you want to go about this?
Yeah, well, sometimes you're right. Sometimes you do things and the times kind of pass you by, and you all of a sudden things that work no longer work, and you're just kind of sitting there running around like, okay, what happened? This worked 5 years ago. Why is it not working now?
Right. And so so now we're into like kind of a dual subject. So we'll hit a couple things, but it's the most successful, wealthy people on the planet weren't even college educated. They got good at something, and then they read, and then they asked questions, and they did research, and they never stopped. They never stopped the what if. They set a milestone, and they broke it down into steps. We have a mountain here in Phoenix called Camelback Mountain. And a lot of people come here, and a lot of people climb that mountain all the time. Well, if you just pull up in your car to that mountain and say, I'm going to get to the top, you know what? You may do it, you may not. You may really injure yourself bad doing it. So you got a goal. It's like, you know what? I want to go to the top of that mountain. I want to get up there. Now, what do I need to do? Well, the first thing you got to do, you got to figure out when you're going to go and just pull up into the parking lot. It might be that that's the first thing that you do. And then you make a plan. It's like, okay, you know what? Maybe I need to walk. Maybe I need to do a little exercise. So then you just plan and you do steps. Maybe I'll do a third of it. And that'll be my goal for that part. And you just work through what's going to work for you to get to the top of that mountain. The same applies for your life, and the same applies for your business. We think that, somebody's successful because it just happened. They had this big need and this big goal, and it happened. No, they cried, they bled, it's like, why is this not working? They tear their hair out. They're like, I've lost everything that I have, and they've been down in this pit. And they just learn through trial and error. But the people that learn to ask more questions and say, what book should I read? Who should I talk to? Who should I consult with to look at what I'm doing and give me some feedback? Those are people that succeed.
Yeah. Sometimes one of my mentors says this, is that we tend to only see the highlight reels of successful people's lives. You don't see all the agony, all the hard work, all the frustration, all the question marks that they had about themselves and what they're doing and all that. We just see like the happy. It's kind of like, it reminds me of you see the family picture with the kids, and you didn't see the arguing to get the kids' hair right and all that stuff right before the picture was taken.
Or even the dating process. Oh my God, I'm afraid to ask her out. How do I do it? What do I do?
Yeah.
I mean, all that, when you think back, everything that you've ever achieved in your life, one of the things that I had a traumatic experience, just like a lot of people have, while I was having a lot of success, and my brother passed away on some of my high level of business success. And he passed away, and I'd always wanted to be a pilot. I was in my 40s or my late 40s. And within a week of when my brother Stanley Moore passed away, I said, you know what, I'm going to do it. I did some research. I talked to some people. I said, what flight school should I go to? I got some good recommendations. I went to a flight school at Scottsdale Airport. With 1 year, I did my private, I did my multi, I did my instrument, and I got my commercial. I committed to it. And I went to an expert that walked me through the steps to do it. And to this day, I still fly.
All right. Stephen, we kind of touched on this. I want to go a little bit deeper into this area of how do you help people identify what their vision is, what their goals are, what they want to do. What's the process that you take them through as a coach?
That's right. That's a really good question. What we have found to be the most successful is right off the bat. We're not playing games. Okay. And what we do from an action coach standpoint, we have a process called an alignment process. Mm-hmm. And it's something that we've refined over, 23, 24, 25 years with action coach. So if I'm working with a solo business owner, it's basically, there's going to be a lot of questions. The thing is, all the answers we can get in life, and I really like this book. You can get it on
Questions
Amazon.
Are the Answers. Yeah.
Questions Are the Answers, Alan Pease.
Okay.
Alan Pease. An old book, and this just applies to network marketing. But I think everybody should read this because it can apply to everything. Questions are the answers. So to get to the vision, you've got to be challenged. And it's a simple step for us. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's a simple step of walking through a process of discussing. And, it's like, let's have a conversation about your successes in life. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then I've got all types of diagnostic questions that we walk through to see what the vision is for, number one, for your lifestyle, for your personal life, and develop a vision for the business. Now, that can take a half a day of the interview process. If there's partners, that could take a full day. It might take 2 days if there's several people involved, because we've got to make sure, especially when there's partners, that we make sure everybody is on the same page, or we get them on the same page and develop a cohesive vision. That vision is not developed in that one setting, but it's a foundation to then do the work to start to build that vision. So again, it's a step. We have processes and we have systems for this. It's a step-by-step process. It's not that you just sit on a mountain one day and a light bulb goes off and it's like, oh, eureka, I have the vision, and then it manifests. You have to be asked the questions to prompt it, and then it's got to be written down. You've got to document it. And that's what we do. We walk people through that process.
Okay. So when people are in achievement mode, and I'm sure obviously you have a lot of people that have worked with you, what are the things that they do to basically screw themselves up or self-sabotage or the mistakes they made? What are some of the things that you see happen along the process?
Almost all business owners, myself included. Look, when you start making a greater amount of money, when the revenues start increasing and the profitability comes up, you got to think about where you were when you were getting there. It was a difficult climb, and things were tough, and it was hard to find the funding, or it was hard to get everything done in a day and all this. So you just had to keep telling yourself and asking yourself, well, what if I did this? What do I need to get there? And you're always afraid, oh, well, what if this project doesn't come through? Or what if our product is bad or nobody wants to buy it? And you keep working through all the failures to get to that success, to where you finally start achieving more. You're building a team, and you're leveraging yourself, and you're leveraging systems, and you're turning from a manager to a leader. And all of a sudden it's like, whoa, you know what? We're making some serious coin here. Life is getting good. And you forget about what it took for you to get there. So you stop asking the questions, what if we don't keep innovating? What if a marketing stream that we have doesn't perform as well, and we've only got one or two marketing streams? What if this were to happen? What if my team was, I didn't lead them? It's that when you are the most successful is when you should be asking the most questions and consulting with either mentors or coaches or other successful people. It's like, hey, what do you do? What do you do to keep that edge? And you've got to look at, are we still growing? Because the thing that we do, we get comfortable. We get comfortable. You know what? Life is good. Life is good. I'm smoking the cigar. I've got my favorite brandy. You know what? If I don't, so we make the same amount of money next year. Well, that's okay. And it's not. Because if you're not continually growing, if you're not continually growing your business, when you start flattening out, that's when you're dying. That's when your business is going to go away. So the curse of success and the curse of achievement, the word is complacency. We forget what it was like when we were pushing hard, and we don't continually educate. We don't look beyond ourselves. One of the things that the founder of our company says, Brad Sugars, is that he has a lifelong goal. He's got 4,000 books to read, and that comes out to your average lifespan of 80 plus or whatever. And how many weeks do you have to read a book? And like I said earlier, the most successful people read the most. They read the most. I'm not talking about fiction. I'm talking about stuff that will either self-improve or I'm using the word stuff, information that we can read. May not be a whole book or part of a book or whatever it is, but what information can I learn that I don't already know? And what is it that I don't know that I don't know? We have to explore those areas. And again, it comes to talking with other people and having them ask you the hard questions.
Yeah, I've always believed that there is no such thing as maintaining status quo. You're either getting better or you're getting worse, because there's no such thing as just staying where you are. And in life, because the forces are changing around you that are coming at you that you don't know, and they're gonna disrupt, and they're gonna cause you to drop down if you're not in the process of building things. Yeah. What steps do you see that are important when people are reinventing themselves or they're in achievement mode? What makes somebody successful when they're working in that area?
Persistence. Persistence, and the ability to maintain that risk taking that you had from the beginning. I'm not saying you go bet the farm, but you've got to invest in your team. You've got to invest in your people. I don't care if it's a 2-person team or a 2,000-person team. That is your business. That is where you as a business owner need to invest your leadership, your time, and invest in them. Because you invest in them, they take care of the business, and then the business feeds whatever you need it to feed. So that's a main priority.
Outside of that, what other things would you say, in addition to persistence, would be key characters?
You've got to go reach out. You've got to learn. Again, I use this phrase. You've got to learn to recognize what you don't know. There are things. We get into a state where it's like, oh well, I know that. Or it can't get any better than this, or there can't be a better way to do that. Could your business be taken over by a technology innovation, some new technology from some other company or some other guy, some other old guy reinvents better technology? I
mean, you look at Uber, which basically has killed the taxi business. I mean, a medallion in New York City used to be worth a lot of money. Now they're hardly worth anything these days.
Okay, that's a really interesting scenario. I have a gentleman that I spoke with about 1.5 years ago, and he started as an Uber driver, and he built himself into a very small concierge private limo service that he operates now, and he's doing about 30K a month.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's pretty amazing.
To 30K a month, because what he did, he saw a niche. He got connected with some people that were using Uber, and you know what? They wanted a little more than that. Mm-hmm. They wanted more of the luxury ride available, and so he just created a small little business here in the Scottsdale area and is doing extremely well. Mm-hmm. So while Uber is doing great, there are still niches. It's all about finding your niche. What can I do better than the other guy? Mm-hmm. What can I specialize in so that it's not an apples to apples comparison? I'm unique. I have a market dominating position. I have a compelling message, and I provide a service better than somebody else.
Yeah, it's pretty finding that niche, that groove that you can fit in, especially if you're a smaller business or a solo entrepreneur. That's really is a space that you can really flourish in and grow and grow financially and personally in those areas and have a very, very specialized clientele, because many industries are finding that that automation is really taking away a lot of jobs and really decreasing the number of employees that are necessary to do any kind of different tasks in a big way.
Yeah, one of the other things about reinventing yourself in the same career or business is, you know what, you've got to get uncomfortable with your marketing vehicles, and by that I mean this: if you're getting business by one form of marketing, let's say it's referral, absolutely one of the best ways to get business, being connected, getting referrals. But what happens when your referrals start to dry up or they're not as productive? What we like to move people into, we call it a 10 by 10 marketing matrix, which is about 100 different ways to market whatever you're doing. It doesn't mean you're going to do all of it, but get good at one thing. Just add a couple more avenues. Because one of the things that happens in business, somebody's like, yeah, my business is based on LinkedIn, or it's based on Facebook, or it's based on newsprint ads, or it's based on direct mail. And they just do that one thing. And then they go through a period where it doesn't work so well. And their business suffers, and they try to scramble. It's like, oh, I got to get good at this, good at that. Get good at 3 ways to market yourself or market your business. And once you master those 3 ways, add another one, and then add another one. See if you can get up to 10 ways to market your business, 10 different types of marketing vehicles. I'm not talking about, messages. That's a whole different subject, but 10 different things, so that when one slacks or one breaks or one's re-regulated and you can't do it anymore, you've got these other things that still feed the business. And that's the downfall of so many businesses. It's like, oh, my marketing dried up. Yeah. See that all the time.
Yeah. Stephen, what do you see as far as marketing trends in 2018 and beyond, in terms of how the whole landscape is changing, in terms of if you got a product or a service or a personal brand that you're trying to go? What do you see in 2018 and beyond as a marketing strategy?
Yeah. Are you familiar with the author Dan Kennedy?
Yes, very much so.
He's the no BS guy, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, this is what he says, and I totally agree with him. Number 1, you have to know your market. Who are you going to sell to? Number 2, you have to develop your message and you have to refine it to that market. And then third and lastly, you have to know what media you're going to put it on. Marketing hasn't changed in essence. It really hasn't changed. That's been true from the beginning. It's going to be true till the end. It doesn't matter how you're doing it. The most important thing that people need to focus on is, who am I going to sell to? That's where a huge amount of work has to take place. The next biggest amount of work is, what is the message that I can use? How can I develop this message? And the message has to have several elements to it. It has to have an interrupt, so that it's what? You've got to get somebody's attention. Okay. You have to then engage them. You've got to give them a little bit of an education, and then there has to be some type of an offer. It could be a free offer, it could be a paid offer, or whatever. All forms of marketing use this. So you're asking me about trends. So whether you're somebody that is out of work because things have changed and you're a buggy whip now, you've got a small business and you're selling maybe a couple products or one specific product, what you've really got to work into, we call it the product ladder. Okay. It's not that you just develop something and you go sell this big widget and it's like, yeah, this is what we do, we sell it. If you look at whether it's a Tony Robbins, for instance, okay, or Disney, or internet marketing gurus, Russell Brunson, whoever it may be, like a Frank Kern, whatever it is, there's one common thread that they have. Number one, they know where they want to go. They know who their target market is. Sure. They kind of know in the beginning what their message is going to be, and they have all these different medias that they're going to use to market that. Now, the way that people do it today is that, oh, I've got to have Infusionsoft, or oh, I've got to sell on Facebook, or oh, I got to do it on LinkedIn, or oh, I've got to have ClickFunnels. Those are tools. That's the least of your problem. That's the last thing you look at. You need to take 80% of your development and develop your target market, develop your competition crushing value added messaging along with the product that goes with it, and then you have to develop what we call a product ladder. It's like, Stephen, what's this product ladder? Yeah. Okay, well, a product ladder is this. Would you agree that we're in the information age at this point?
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt.
Oh, yeah, we went from the farming age to the industrial age. And then we got into we weren't quite in the information age. And you'll remember this, and I'll remember this. A lot of the viewers that are watching this won't know about this, but it used to be when you wanted to buy a car, you had to go to the dealership. There was no internet. You maybe saw it in a magazine or a newspaper, but you had to go there. You had to go see what the car was, how much it would cost, and the seller had all the power. Right? They knew when you come there, you could only buy it through them. We're not in that age anymore. The power is in the buyer. At any given point, people that you market your product to, there'll be less than 1% of those people that are ready to act and tactically buy it at that time. So what are you doing with the other 99%? Most people don't do anything. If you're not operating some type of a lead capture, I don't care if it's through a technology like an opt-in, or it's a fishbowl at a trade show, or it's even signing something, and then marketing back to them and providing them content constantly. Or do you get emails from Best Buy every day?
Yeah.
From
all sorts.
Yeah. Why don't you opt out?
I probably should, but I don't, because sometimes, every once in a while, there's something you might be interested in. Every once in a while.
There's something and when there's that thing and you're interested, it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to Best Buy. I'm going to click on that link, or it could be Amazon, or it could be Walmart, whatever it is. They've kept you top of mind. You're in your mind. They are top of mind in your brain. It's required now for businesses to do this. Yeah. Okay, so product ladder. How do we get to that?
I was at in this group that I'm involved in. We had a meeting a few weeks ago in Laguna, and there was about 500 people in the room. And the speaker, who's a tremendous marketer, asked how many people were on his email list for over 2 years before they signed up, and over half of the people were basically receiving stuff. And it was actually an eye opener. And one of the things you talked about was persistence and being there, constantly providing value. And he was always there. And this was actually for some fairly high ticket items. I mean, it wasn't like these are for some fairly high ticket coaching items and programs to be participating in. But literally over half of us were in that room that had followed him for over 2 years before we ever purchasing from him. It was actually amazing statistics that we saw in there.
Yeah, so, and you were walking. Now that's a primary example. You were walked through a product ladder because in the beginning, you saw something, you were interested. Maybe you opted in for some free information, and you got it, and he provided it, and then they dripped on you. And think of it this way. I'm going to use Disney. Okay, so Disney, they produce programs for TV. We see it on the network. We don't got to pay for it. It's like, oh, that's a cool movie, or that's a cool thing that I saw. It was produced by Disney and whatever. It's like, oh yeah, okay, well, I'm going to go pay for a movie. Oh, I like that. And you're getting hit with ads and all this kind of stuff. And so you decide, oh, I'm going to go to a Disney store and get something for the kids. So you spend a little bit more money, get something for the kids. It's like, you know what? Let's go to Disney. So now you're spending a few $100s or a few $1,000s.
$few $1,000.
Then it's like, you know what? Let's go on a Disney cruise. And now you're spending, 10 grand or 20 grand or whatever. And they work you up the product ladder. You can do this as on a personal, on an individual solopreneur level, on a company level. If you're a company that's selling one product, you've got to develop other streams and develop a product ladder, because you're probably not selling the low-end items, and you're probably not selling high-end items or services that you could be selling. But you just can't start off with the high-end items. You've got to walk people through the process, because they can research and get so much information now.
Well, Russell Brunson in his book Expert Secrets talks about that whole process of not only dripping stuff, but also creating a charismatic personality that allows you to really connect with your audience. You're a visionary. You see stuff that other people don't see in the future. So tell me some things that you think might be happening in the future that a lot of people are not expecting or see on the horizon.
Well, I don't know if it's technology. It's technology, and here's what I see or what I think, and from what I read and everything, whether it's online dating or Facebook or whatever, the younger generation, I use the word generation, but a lot of younger people, they won't get on Facebook or they won't, do these things. And we've gotten to a point where we've got to get face to face with people again. We've got to connect with people. So whatever you can figure out, whatever you can do that connects people with other people on a live basis, whether it's an event or I don't even know what it is, but there's going to be something that's based that is structured, a product or a service that is based on getting people back together face to face, because we're losing our communication skills. We're losing our as a society, just our ability to interact. And oh my God, we get our feelings hurt, and we do this because of all this miscommunication and not being able to read people's bodies and respond and truly communicate and connect with people. So I really believe that there are going to be things that, we're in the age of robotics where, whether it's from a butler to sex to you name it, and we're going to go through that phase. And at some point, people are just going to, they're like, I need to connect, because we're designed to connect on a physical level with other people.
Yeah, actually, one of the people that you and I are connected together on LinkedIn, I had a nice little discussion with him, and he mentioned that a lot of his clients are 20 and 30-year-olds that are trying to learn how to connect with people on a one-on-one basis. In a human-to-human basis. It seems silly to us because that's kind of all we knew and that's all we grew up with, and the technology situation is actually a challenge for some of us. But he actually talks about that, and I mean even with my kids, sometimes I go like, why are you texting? Why you could, if you just picked up the phone and called them, you could settle this in like 30 seconds rather than 10 minutes of texting back and forth. It actually kind of, in some ways, sometimes it drives me nuts when they sit there.
Well, here's a trend that we're seeing right now. Direct mail is coming back in a big way.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
I'm witnessing it with some clients. It's coming back.
Yeah, well, it's because it's new for some people.
It's kinesthetic. It's like, hey, what is this? I look at it. How many hundreds of thousands of emails and texts and everything else you just kind of one ear out the other, you just ignore, you don't even see,
Yeah.
So again, it's connecting. And what kinesthetically can you use to connect with other people?
Right. Okay. So Steve, I want to tell me a little bit about what you're doing with Wounded Warrior. I know that's something that you're working with.
Yeah. And, I know that Wounded Warrior's gotten some bad rap in some financial areas and everything, but let me talk about the real work that some of us do with Wounded Warrior. And I'm the amount that I do is very, very, it pales in comparison to a lot of people. But I was given a gift of being able to become a commercial pilot. I was also given a gift of having a business that supported that addiction, I'll call it, And I did have an aircraft acquisition and management company, and I owned my own twin jet prop, aircraft, and we used it for business. I had it for over a decade. It was invaluable to us, and I learned a lot. I flew with a lot of really great old mentor pilots that taught me so much, and introduced me to other people. And when I sold my aircraft in 2014, it was like somebody cut off my arms. I mean, literally, it was just like, I was just like, wow, this is, I mean, it was a big change for me mentally, because that was where I went to clear my head. That is where I went to hyper focus. That was where I went to get away, whether it was a business trip or a personal trip or whatever it was through the act of piloting, getting into that mindset and hyper focusing just on that alone. So I have a very good friend, Doug Boone, and he manages jet aircraft. And one of the aircraft that he manages, Frank, he had a Citation CJ3 jet at the time, and then a Citation CJ4, which they currently have. And they use that for business, and they fly all over the world with it. And Doug manages with it, and I fly co-pilot sometimes on that aircraft on the weekends if I'm available and they're doing flights. And again, I'm constantly learning. Just like a business, piloting, you're constantly learning new skills. So Frank donates that jet to Wounded Warrior, and the first time we did it, we took off out of Chandler, Arizona, and we flew to San Antonio, and we landed. And that jet, we get about eight men and women in the back, pilot and co-pilot, and we landed there, and I really didn't know what to expect. And so we go into the FBO, the place where we call it an FBO, but the little terminal there, and there are all these warriors. There are all these veterans. And some of them don't have, they've got artificial limbs, artificial arms. Some of them just have severe PTSD. Some of them got plates in their heads. Some of them, there's just, you name it, these people got it, men and women. And I didn't really know what our mission was. But I found out because they introduced us to these just wonderful people. And they told, that was then what I found out what we were doing. We picked up 10 wounded warriors, men and women. And the guy was briefing us on the mission. These people we were flying them to El Paso because they were going to go run a half marathon and a marathon.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. And I stood there stunned. And I'm on my little high of landing and, being on a flight. You've always got a little high after that. And it brought me down to earth. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then here's the thing that really hit me. We're loading the luggage into the aft of the aircraft, into the baggage area. And all of a sudden I look over, and this guy has all these specialty limbs for running and all this kind of stuff. And he put them in my arms. I don't know how to explain what happened to me, but it grounded me. And I just started to tear.
Yeah.
It just started to tear because I'm like, look at what I'm holding and look at what they're doing. And I'm just flying a stupid jet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have nowhere near the challenge or anything of what they're committed to and what they're going through, let alone what they had to do to get there. And I remember putting it in the back. And then, we do our walk arounds, and we get in, we're doing our pre-flight, we're starting up, and they're sitting back there. And this is the coolest part. We get our clearance, and ground lets us start to taxi out. And I look back, and I do this over my shoulder. And there's like grins, like from that phrase, grin from ear to ear. Oh my gosh, these people. And then I just had this rush of like, this is what it's about. I'm a vehicle. I'm a conduit. I have a talent. I have a skill that I've trained for, so that I can help these people do what they need to do, which is more important than what I need to do. But yet I'm being fulfilled through them, and I'm providing the service and donating the time. And since that time, whenever I get a chance to donate, pilot time, to do that, it's like, boom, yeah, I'm going to do it every time.
Yeah, boy, that story just sends shivers up my spine.
Ah,
That's just a wonderful thing that you're doing. So,
yeah.
Stephen, if someone is interested in working with you, how do they go about that? What's the process?
It's pretty easy. They can go to my website, which is realwealth123.com. On there is my phone number, which my phone number is 480-378-3337. And you can hit extension 101. It doesn't go through at nighttime, but I return calls very quickly. So on my website, you can email me through the website. My email address is Stephen Moore, STEVENMOORE at actioncoach.com. Or you can go to the site. You can contact me through there. If you want to do assess your business, you can click on a link there to where you can answer some questions. But really, if you contact me, I'm going to go through a process. I'm going to get right back to you. It doesn't mean I'm going to get back to you in 30 seconds unless I'm available.
Sure.
But I'll get back to you within. I'll get back to somebody within 24 hours. I'm going to have a conversation because again, we have to start a dialogue. It's like, what are you going through? What are you working in? And what's a challenge that's happening? We're going to have a very short conversation. And then just like a doctor, just like a physician or a surgeon or somebody else, I'm going to send you some paperwork. You're going to read more about me. You're going to read more about Action Coach, about what we do. And more importantly, there's going to be a little diagnostic portion of it. And you're going to take 10 minutes and fill it out. You're going to get back to me. Then we're going to have about a 20-minute phone call. And we're going to talk about what's going on with you, what's going on with the business and all this. And then we're going to set up a session with me. There's no charge for this, but we're going to specifically address areas, and we're going to talk about what your challenges are, where you need to be, where you need to go, and what strategies need to be implemented to get you there. And then it's just a simple matter of, I know that you're interviewing me, but more importantly, and I'll just be real upfront about this, I'm interviewing you. The reason I'm interviewing you is because you may not be coachable, but then again, you may. But we don't know, and I don't know. And I can't just tell by having a 2-minute or a 10-minute conversation. We got to get into it. So we're going to interview each other, and we're going to see if we're a fit. We may not be a fit. But one of the things that I tell people, you're in business, and one of the things that business owners do is that they pick a direction, they commit to it, and they make a decision. Now, if there's a failure point, they learn from it, they pick up, they redirect, and then they take off. So the only thing that I ask when I set up a session with somebody is like, look, if we determine that we're a fit and that this is a good thing for your business and this is a good thing for me to be coaching you, then either number one, we're going to move together or we're not going to move together. It's not going to be this, well, maybe, because if we get into the maybe thing, well, that's going to tell me right then and there, we're not a good fit. So really that's all that I ask of people. Let's dialogue. I'm going to ask the tough questions about, what are your true challenges? And then we're going to talk about solutions and strategies. And we're going to take, I'll take probably 4 to 6, maybe even 8 hours before I sign on with a client, and they're signing on with me. And more importantly, I'm signing on with them because it's a big commitment for both of us. And that's really what it is. But it's nothing to be afraid about. It's actually kind of fun. I mean, I like to have fun with what we do. That's why I was in the infomercial business, because it was a riot all the time. You get to travel the world and be with your friends and have fun and do exciting things. And when you go through the pain, you go through it with them. It's the same way with a business coach. It's a very close relationship. So getting a hold of me and engaging me is very a simple process.
Okay. So as you well know, oldguytalks.com is all about virtues and vices. So this is the part where I like to get into the vices of some of my guests.
No.
Yeah, I know. What a surprise.
It's the tough questions.
So they shouldn't be too bad. They kind of a gradation that we go up on the difficulty scale. So what types of music do you listen to?
Oh my gosh. I was a recording engineer. I used to broadcast the Phoenix Symphony. I worked with the Denver Symphony. I worked in country music. I worked in heavy metal. Wow. I worked with a gentleman. His name is Lyle Levitt. He's a folk country artist. Okay. And a lot of my friends that I grew up with tour with him. I like a lot of really good. It has to be quality music.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it has to be quality music, and it can't be derogatory.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it just can't, because if you listen to derogatory music or derogatory messaging, you're programming your brain.
Sure.
So I worked with Rob Halford from Judas Priest. I mean, I loved it. It was just fantastic. Again, quality. So I can go from, I can go from classical, from a symphony, to even a little bit of opera, to Andrea Bocelli, to a George Strait, to a Lyle Lovett, to a David Gilmour. If my dream would be, I've never met David Gilmour from Pink Floyd. That would be my dream, is to be in his recording studio on the river in England. That would be my ultimate.
Okay.
My bucket list. Yeah.
So I know that you're in a healthy stage these days. But tell me, when you break and you have that unhealthy food, what is it? What unhealthy food do you eat?
Vanilla ice cream. And it has to be the real deal. It's got to have real sugar. It's got to have real heavy whipping, made with heavy whipping cream. It's got to be the real deal. It's got to be real ice cream.
Do you have a brand that you like, or where do you go and get it?
Well, it doesn't matter to me if I get it at Fry's or AJ's or Bash's or some of these other places, Safeway. What's it called? They're in the little pints.
Haagen-Dazs?
Yeah, I like the Haagen-Dazs, but there's one that's even better, and I like the Haagen-Dazs, the 5-ingredient Haagen-Dazs. It's the specialty line of it. It's I like that. And then there's another. It's like it's in the same section. It's like an Italian ice type that I really like too. But the Haagen-Dazs vanilla bean ice cream, that's a luxury for me.
Okay. Any trash TV you watch?
Okay, trash TV. Well, I do binge watch a little bit on Netflix, like House of Cards and a few other things. I'm addicted to Gold Rush.
Okay, I'm not familiar with Gold Rush.
Oh, Gold Rush. Oh man. Oh, I'm addicted to it. That program, it's all about, you see that gold, they're mining the gold up in Alaska or wherever, and it's some of the drama.
Oh, yes, I have now. Okay.
Yeah, I can do without some of the drama, but man, I love seeing that gold coming out, and at the end they tally it up, and all the heartache and overcoming that they have to do to get that gold, and they set goals, and they fail and they succeed, and they fail and succeed. It's just like, oh, I love it. It's just cool.
Okay. All right.
Oh, and one other thing. I won't tell you what it is, but this is hard to admit, but trash, movies that make guys cry too. It's like, oh God, Meg Ryan, yeah. There, how's that? I've never told anybody that.
Oh my gosh, Meg Ryan chick flicks, huh?
Yeah,
oh my gosh, yeah. No, I actually I do cry at movies, but it's usually like Lone Survivor or American Sniper or whatever. I have to actually, my kids are laugh because they sit there, they know I have to collect myself before I walk out of the movie theater on those movies, because I'm like sitting there going, oh, I'll feel, I'm just sitting there crying, and my kids just laugh at me. So alcohol, do you like alcohol?
Yeah, I don't drink very much anymore, but if I'm going to have a drink, I'll have a Guinness Stout. And if I'm going to have a martini, it'll be a couple of things. It'll be a Bombay Sapphire straight up with 3 olives. Okay, Bombay Sapphire. It can't be a Bombay gin. It has to be Bombay Sapphire with 3 olives. The reason I got turned on to that was Richard Marchenko from SEAL Team 6. I don't know if you've read any of his books, but he was the guy that formed SEAL Team 6 back in the Vietnam day. Okay. And that was his drink of choice. I've read all his books. I tried it. I'm like, oh my God, yeah, this is my drink of choice also. The other would be like a Booker bourbon or a Woodford, neat, a couple drops of water in it, or a ball of ice. So it's not melty.
Yeah, we got those. Actually, I got those for my birthday. I got those spheres that make the spheres, so they're actually really cool.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm a master martini maker. That's
wonderful.
I make great martinis for people.
Well, we actually have some sapphire gin here at the house. We're not big gin drinkers, but for people that do, we do try to have the good stuff all around them.
Yeah.
Tell me about cigars.
Wow, I haven't smoked a cigar for a long time. But in the past, and especially when we'd fly the aircraft down to Cabo and into Mexico and some other places, cigars, yeah, long time ago, Monte Cristo number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Just loved it. There was an Opus. You're going to have to help me with this. I think an Opus 10 short story or something like that I used to smoke. That was really good. I couldn't tell you. I like some of the Romeo and Julieta. I can't tell you exactly which one it was. And what's the big Cuban brand that I can't remember anymore?
Cohibas?
Yeah, the Cohiba. So I'd like a Siglo or the big Churchill type.
Okay. So what is the one thing that people be surprised about that does not fit your persona?
Why? Because I'm a high D and can be really anal a lot and have to let go of that all the time and have some OCD tendencies to myself and everything. Wow. Can you give me a hint?
No, that's your persona, not mine.
About my persona.
That does not fit something that you do that would surprise people that you do.
Well, or that I did. Let me tell you something. All the way through my late 30s, I was a wild child. People would say, "You did that?" It was, I was pretty wild. I was pretty out there. People look at me and they think maybe I'm a little straight-laced, maybe I have fun, but I'm this business type guy. And I was pretty wild. That's what I'll say. I have a pretty big wild streak to me. I'm not afraid to do things. I'll put it that way.
Okay, you got to give us an example.
Well, one thing I won't do is jump out of a perfectly good aircraft because I'm.
You won't. Okay.
I won't do that. No, that I won't do. But I'll eat about anything.
Okay.
And when I've been overseas, like when I've been in China and everything, and a lot of stuff we don't even know what it was, and we'd eat and we'd get dares to eat, and I would do that. Really, just for there's a lot of things that people think that I wouldn't do that I would absolutely do, and I can't just pull one thing out of my hat and figure out what it is. But it's not necessarily what you see in people. Again, you've got to engage them, you got to be with them, you got to contact them, you got to talk to them, and then you really find out what they're all about. I love riding motorcycles, love flying airplanes, love flying helicopters, love to learn, but not afraid to take a dare.
Yeah. What kind of motorcycle do you like?
Well, I had a Harley Davidson Softail, a 1996 Harley Davidson Softail that I bought brand new back in 1996, and I sold that in 2014. And then I had a Swift Chopper for a very long time that I also sold in 2014. But I really like the baggers, the big baggers they have now. You can go rent them. I don't feel that I've got to own that stuff anymore when I can just go rent it, when I need it from Harley Davidson. Sure. But yeah, I like the big bikes, the bigger bikes.
Okay. All right. Well, Stephen, I want to thank you for a great interview. Learned a lot, got a lot of insights into a lot of stuff, and truly an honor to interview and talk to you tonight. So really appreciate it.
Oren, thank you. Your friendship has been, since the day we met, has been great. You're a genuine person. Love speaking with you. Love being here on the program. And I've got to get over and with you and your wife, and we'll do a cigar and a drink in the back.
We'll do a cigar and a drink. All right. So, folks, this is it. We're all done with Stephen Moore, and the business icon and the contact information will be in the program notes below after I post this interview. And for now, We're getting ready to sign off. If you have not already opted in, do so. Every weekday morning, you're going to get my political cartoons that I specifically pick for you. For you, I take a lot of time and effort to pick only the best. There's lots that I go through to do that, as well as all the other cool shit that's on my site about how to have a better life as an older man, how to have a kick-ass life. So take care, and remember, it's all about having a kick-ass life. Good night.
Opt in and encourage other old guy assholes like you to opt in also.